Like Daisy Johnson in this episode, if you ever find yourself on the hood of a car, go to the TJ Hooker School of Riding on the Hood of Cars. We'll have you ride on the hood of cars so fast you won't know what to do with yourself. In fact, you'll be so good at riding on the hood of cars, you'll be able to write the ticket on the hood of the car yourself. So remember, go to the TJ Hooker Riding on the Hood of Cars School, or otherwise you're just an asshole. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 la la ba 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 da 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 ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. 6 months later.
All right, hey everybody, how you doing out there? This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on our old S.H.I.E.L.D. new review show, where we go back and rewatch the old episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I never got around to reviewing the first time out, and actually getting to see the episodes for the first time since they aired. And right now we're finally been talking about season 4. I feel like I've been talking about this show for a long time. And it's because I basically have, covering season 6 and 7, and then going back and doing 1, 2, 3, and now 4, and then doing what we do over on D's Reviews with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. retrospectives that we've been doing, which by the time you've seen this, we've already done season 3. We've probably already done Agent Carter season 2, and coming up, we're going to be talking about season 4. It's one of the reasons why I'm pre-recording all of these episodes in a way to be able to be ready for season 4's talk in April. And being done watching these and making these reviews. That's why they're so late coming out. But I want to thank everybody that does choose to watch these. Again, this is our little niche show. These are Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a very special show to all of us, and it really is. Like right now, one of the things that's been talked about in the news, and it's going to be old news by the time you see this, but like people finally look like, should I be watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And it's like, wow, it would have really helped if the fan base had grown a little bit more when the show was on. But hey, maybe this will bring new light, and maybe we'll get some new content. Who knows? That's a speculative as hell comment, but one can dream, right? So today, though, we're talking about episode 2 of season 4, Meet the New Boss. And in this, man, okay. First, I want to bring up a couple of things that I didn't really mention that hard in the last episode. One is Piper and Davis. Piper being back, Davis getting a little bit more attention here, because they're going to be kind of our background S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, our red shirt S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that actually have lines and something to do occasionally. But their characters actually get a lot more to do, and I think that was important, to give at least a couple of smaller characters a little bit more visible role, so that, S.H.I.E.L.D. feels a little more lived in, feels like there's not just our team. Also, I forgot to mention in Simmons' power grab that she's talking about, that she's doing it also because she does not trust the new director. And then it's important to bring that up because of this episode. Because Jason O'Mara, who I really love, is introduced as Jeffrey Mace, the new director. And we'll get into that more. We've got a few branching storylines that all kind of end up leading to the same place. There's a lab at the end of the episode. But first, we're talking about those things that worked in that lab that appear to be ghosts. Now, for all of us that have seen this before, we know they're not ghosts. They're a product of something else. But it is a kind of cool beginning, seeing this kid seeing a ghost in the house, and just kind of now it's spreading the infection, because these people, whatever happened to them, don't realize how long they've been gone. And this one infects a father, all the collateral damage that happens on this show, all these poor people that are just in the way of other people's situation. Um, but it brings us to the new form of technology that Fitz and Simmons are looking at. These boxes, these cells, the cells that hold these people inside them. And again, it's like you see Fitz's like fascination with the new technology, talking about how he feels, like he's like what did he call himself? Like like a blacksmith looking at new technology. But that kind of spark in his eye, that's almost dangerous, that can be dangerous. The willingness to see some new thing and then take it too far. And that's going to be like, the more we see of that in Fitz this year, it kind of feels like, I like to think of it when, as far as the story goes, it's like Walter White. There's somebody who starts one way and then starts to change, that metamorphosis of the character to this like super crazy what is potentially, inside all of us, where we could potentially go bad or for bad or for good. And more we see these things in Fitz, it's something I never really thought about the first time around. But Mac here, he's already on the ghost tip. He wants it to be. He's like, oh, they could be ghosts, and it's to Mac's like character that he's always like this, and it's also true to Fitz and Simmons to dismiss his little silly, oh yes, you believe in ghosts, we forgot kind of attitude, because Mac is like, he's grounded. Every time he sees some new crazy thing, it really shakes his like core. And when it's just Fitz and Simmons, it's just figuring out what the problem is. Like, what is it really? How is science going to prove that this isn't some sort of supernatural, for a lack of a better word, religious kind of thing, like that Mac kind of has. And when I say that, I mean, like, if he believes in ghosts, I'm not going to go all that down that road, but we also now are talked about where we're going to be introduced here to Jason O'Mara. And it starts with Phil and May being like recognizing all the changes that are going on around there. And like the way the place is decorated. And it's very corporate. And I was thinking the same thing when I was looking at the posters and things like that. It looks like stuff that people hang at work. Like stupid like catchphrases to motivate the team or to actually kind of make the way that they want you to think about things, propaganda a little bit. And they kind of lead it up to like this guy's going to be like, oh, he's so pissed at us, and then when you meet him, he is the face of corporate America, in my opinion. He is he's literally the face of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the face of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now is very corporate looking, very glad-handing, very yeah, cool, hey, you, that guy, like, but behind it all, that it's different. But that's the thing I love about Jason O'Mara's character here. But he's also, like, there's so much more we find out in this episode. Jason O'Mara, who's been in a bunch of different things. One of the best things that I liked him in was The Man in the High Castle. We reviewed it on the channel, and I have varying degrees of how I feel about that show. But one of the problems I always had with it was the characters. I just didn't like most of them. They just weren't very interesting. But Jason O'Mara's character, when he showed up on that show, he really burst it with life. He gave it like energy that I think a lot of those other characters lacked. And he brings it here too. And he's great as the guy who wants to just put on a good face for S.H.I.E.L.D. and sell the whole thing because we've got to, make S.H.I.E.L.D. trustworthy again. Walking in, Philip, a team that trusts is a team that triumphs, a catchphrase and all. Like, it all feels like designed. In fact, it almost feels like, what if Tony Stark was like, putting together these things. It just seems a little on the nose, a little bit. I mean, Tony wouldn't be a catchphrase kind of guy, would he? he likes to come up with a lot of sayings, but I don't know if he would probably be that on board with this. He'd probably kind of go, ugh, but you know, he cares about PR and public relations. I guess, yeah, Tony doesn't really care about that stuff. But during this whole thing, we forget that May is infected, and she's been ignoring the signs of it. Now, I feel like that's kind of true to the character, that she'd be like, okay, I'm just overworked. And I'm glad that they don't spend a lot of time, like episodes and episodes and episodes of her sneaking around paranoid, because we do deal with it in this episode. But also then Phil gets a special assignment, which is basically him and Simmons being relegated to tour guides to sell new S.H.I.E.L.D. so that they can get funding. That Jason O'Mara is like, I know why I got this job, and we find out that, you know, it's not just because he's a good face and he's nice and he do that corporate thing. We find out a little later really why he's the face of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. But he doesn't know shit. He doesn't know all the information. He hasn't been there. And so he turns to Phil and Simmons to give all the little history to these people that could give them money to build ships, because the money's basically run out. You know, and Phil knew how to get money for projects. Something they never talked about. So it's a little out of left field to me that they suddenly care about money. If he's the corporate guy, then yep. Corporations and money, bottom line, you know. The only thing they don't mention is like how much money they would get. But it's S.H.I.E.L.D., so, you know, we're not supposed to think that they're worried about their bonuses and things like that would really happen in a corporation. So then we do find out about that these boxes, these cells at this lab, they are what's holding these people. Now, what put them in there? Well, this is kind of like we start to know some of their names. One's Lucy, one's Hugo. Here, what did he do? There's a person that is not in this room, that is not in one of these boxes, that betrayed all of them and put them in here. And they are all looking because of this book called The Darkhold. It's the first time they actually say it by name. The Darkhold is a thing, a very, very powerful thing in the Marvel Comics universe. They're finally, you know, they're not just bringing Ghost Rider here, they're bringing in stuff that like Doctor Strange would even be familiar with. And that the power that they were looking for caused all of this. They're making it. You have the typical bad guy, I'll kill anyone who gets in our way, blah, 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 etc. Because, yes, if we were in that situation, what would we do? You know, these people aren't heroic, they're desperate. And, you know, they always have to throw in that line that's in, like, everything. I'll kill all of you to get what I want. Which basically just then makes it okay in your brain to do whatever people, because they're going to be after our agents. Meanwhile, of this is Daisy pressuring Robbie Reyes, played by Gabrielle Luna, who, again, the Ghost Rider stuff last episode and his character, it's so good. Ghost Rider, if you're not familiar with the movies or whatever, you know, it's, you make a deal with the devil, basically, and it lets you, this Ghost Rider infects your soul, and it's been done with different characters like Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch. Now it's Robbie Reyes, and everybody's assuming he's an Inhuman, and he's not. He literally sold his soul because he's the only one that was buying. And, you know, I love this new introduction of something that they think they know and they know nothing. They know nothing about all this. This is a whole new ball game, and it's a good way to get away from the Inhumans, even though they're still clinging desperately to this storyline, because they can't just completely cut it off like we wish they could. I mean, I wish we could just call Daisy a mutant, but again, all the rules that were in place here, you know, just flip it and just like go, oh, none of this ever happened, but it's going to be stuck to the bottom of S.H.I.E.L.D's shoe for the rest of time. And so as much as we want to get rid of Inhumans, here we are. And then Daisy pushes too hard. which she's want to do a lot of times. She pushes and she pushes and she pushes. The thing is, again, Robbie Reyes isn't your typical character. He can't be pushed around. And when she mentions the brother, right, she's trying to get him to like, oh, I can say what I want because you won't do things in front of these guys. But once she mentions the brother, she goes too far, and he whoops her, and he literally puts her down and ties her up. And I loved, like, he's not messing around, and he knows how powerful she is. So when he punches her, your first instinct would be he hit a girl, but come on. Daisy knows how to take a punch. You know, she's coming at him with powers and everything else, you know. I'm not saying hit women. I'm just saying. We also have May finally getting concerned with what's happening to her. So they do address that in this episode. We don't have to wait till episode 6 or 7 or something like that. And this is where, you know, she's trying to get answers from the survivor, right? But he's like he's got no answers, and he's bashing his brains apart, and she disappears when Simmons shows up and gasses him. Because there's no help coming. And so Robbie and Daisy, right? Got my notes here making all sorts of noise. It's like crinkling plastic. Bringing up Daisy's wanting to die, her death wish. And that bringing up her brother, he's now trying to find a reason for Ghost Rider to be able to kill her. He doesn't say that, but he's like, look, if I find something, you'll get your wish. He also brings up that what she's doing when he shows the picture of Lincoln as penance, which is kind of funny because of what Ghost Rider does. Now, we haven't seen him do it here in this show yet, but the penance stare, it's basically, you know, when the Ghost Rider gets a victim of his and gives him that look, the penance stare basically, it's like confronting all the things that you did and damning you forever kind of thing. But what Robbie doesn't know is there's a bigger picture for Daisy and why she's doing all this. That all these gangs are working together. You're taking down these people. You have a small bit in it, but you don't realize that all these things are connected. And he does become kind of intrigued with that because he is going around. That's his job, to find souls, evil souls for the Ghost Rider. And that vengeance might have started with what he wanted, but now he's stuck with it. So to order to find things, he better stick with Daisy. And we get another great action sequence. But the problem with this action sequence, and as awesome as it looks, right? She bursts out of her chair. But first we have to remember all the fractures that she's been doing to herself, right? He brings it up. Your bones aren't broken, but they're fractured. But she keeps using her power. So boom, she uses them to get out of her chair. Makes it worse. Boom, she quake jumps all the way on top of his car, man, doing like well, I guess TJ Hooker rode on the front of a car. But, you know, kind of one of those moves where she's on the top of the car. So the power they would take to jump onto the car would break more bones, landing on the car and holding onto the roof for dear life with broken, fractured arms as it goes back and forth, and then falling off the car and rolling. Daisy would be busted up as hell, and she wouldn't be getting up and brushing herself off. And she, you know, there's a thing where, you know, you can be in pain and wince, but that much pain, I'm sorry, I have to call bull crap on that, because she wouldn't have lasted a second just because of sheer willpower. You know, pain is pain is pain, and holding onto the top of a car, I have to call a little bit of bull crap, no matter how cool it looked, because it did look great. But I have to call it out. I love the show, but sometimes we're asked to look the other way for something, to see something cool, and ignore the fact that, yeah, it's all not real, right? But that's particularly noticeable that there's no way. There's just no way, okay? I know that she's strong, but she's a human. And broken bones are broken bones, and you feel them no matter what. You can't just go like this when you're on the top of a car and make it go away. I'm going to drop it now. But all roads do lead to this lab, right? And Fitz and Mac end up there. And that's where they start to put things a little bit together. Basically, still Mac being they're basically playing ghost hunters almost here. That's what I kept thinking while I was watching this episode. Because everybody's trying to find out what's causing the people to go crazy. And Max showing the evidence of the ghost earlier leads them here. May's trying to find the cure for infection as well, which ends up in a fight with May versus everybody and another great action sequence. Now this one was really good. It's just her kicking everybody's ass, which is what we expect, until Jeffrey Mace shows up. And I had forgotten for a second why he was the new face of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's because when she punches him, nothing happens. When she tries to hit him with a pipe, he catches it. When she tries to punch him again, he grabs her fist. So we find out that Jeffrey Mace is a powered person and inhuman. Or at least that's the claim that they want. Knocking May out and explaining all this, that yeah, Phil didn't quit. Phil didn't lose the job of the directorship. He quit. He stepped down. And he was like that a powered person needs to be in charge. A powered person they can trust because Cap has walked away after Civil War. They need somebody that is like a Cap-like symbol for S.H.I.E.L.D. because without Cap, what else do they have? Tony's not a team player really. So unless, they need him for an Avengers mission. And even then. So Mace has become the face of it. Now, we've never heard of Mace. He's just somehow this crazy powerful human that comes out of nowhere, which should already be raising red flags towards his character. But that's something we'll deal with later. But it was a fun thing to see him just be like, this is why I have the job, right? And him taking, May under, after she gets knocked out, she ends up in restraints and in terror. He's like, I've got it handled. Well, Phil doesn't know that this is what Mace is doing. And I'm sure that this isn't going to go over well. But meanwhile, the last bit is Mac and Fitz getting trapped by this guy. Mac ending up in the chamber. The guy saying he's going to blow the whole thing up. And Daisy and Ghost Rider showing up in the nick of time, which was fantastic as well. Because, Fitz recognizes immediately, don't let these things touch you. So, the steam gets burst by Mac. Mac ends up in the chamber. Right before Fitz gets grabbed is when Robbie Reyes shows up. Now, at first I thought the hand was going to be Daisy. But no, it's Ghost Rider. Again, when they both see Ghost Rider, I love the look on their faces of holy hell, literally and metaphorically. What the hell is this thing? Literally again, metaphorically again. And I just love that reaction of this is new and this is terrifying. And I love it. Ghost Rider is such a... I never in a million years would think that they would put Ghost Rider on the show, but it's such an awesome, awesome, awesome choice. But... so Ghost Rider saves Fitz and torches this guy, just burns his soul out of existence and horrifies them. But also Daisy shows up to quake open the door to get Mac out of the building. And that's where we get the speech, that they've been looking for her all this time. She could have help. Fitz getting really angry about, we've all had terrible things happen, but we never walked away from each other. What you're doing right here. And of course, the typical Daisy line, I've got to do what I've got to do for myself. And it's like, man, I've grown to really like Daisy more the second time around. The first time around, it was really rough watching her sometimes because of the way she's written to be just so, she was always doing the right thing to a fault. And now she's doing the wrong thing to a fault, in my opinion. Yes, she lost all this stuff, but like Fitz is right. We're a family. You're walking away from the family, and what Max says is you can walk away and do all this stuff, but it still affects us. So right now, as much as some people say will defend Daisy, and that's your right, she is being selfish, but it's drama. We have to create the drama. We have to do this, otherwise there's less of a show. And it's part of Daisy's journey to become what she becomes later as one of my favorite characters on the show, when she was one of my least favorite characters at the beginning when I first watched this all the way through. Until the end, and then I came around. But that is basically the rest of it is the Robbie and Daisy team up, where they decide that they need to work together because Robbie thinks he's the connection in all this. So all in all, really, really good episode. A new introduction of characters. We get to see Jason O'Mara. We get to see more of Ghost Rider. Like I said, I have a few problems with, allowing characters to do things that they just couldn't do even if they have powers. But otherwise, just another really solid episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as usual. So if you liked what you see here, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all the notifications. Otherwise, we'll be back with episode 403 sooner rather than later, except by the time you see this, it'll probably be March or April. So have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.